Hi everybody, so today we are going to be making some stencils. I'm specifically doing stencils for polymer clay, but you could use these for anything. So you could use these as painting stencils. It actually doesn't really make a difference what you use it for. A stencil is a stencil. So for this part of the project, what I'm going to be using is acetate, clear acetate. If you only have foil acetate, that can work. Basically, you want something that is hard and reusable. You can also use some vinyl that will obviously not be reusable, or you can use the stencil sheets, which again is also not reusable. So what I wanted to show you is that even if you're a beginner, you can utilize Design Space in a way that just makes everything a lot easier for you. So obviously on the home page is where we can find different projects. So we're just gonna search for stencils here. So as you can see, we've got images that would work great for stencils. So one of the things you need to remember for a stencil is that there needs to be connected lines. If there aren't connected lines, you're not going to get the same effect. So if you have a look at this rose, all the white is connected. So even when we take the black parts out, the white will still be there to hold it together. The same with these pants. So it's hard to see because we don't have a different color on the outside. But obviously all of these lines would connect once we remove the blue from it. We've also got Cricut projects that have got stencils. There's lots of different ones to choose from. And then my personal favorite is community projects. I actually really love this one. This is my first time seeing it, but I think this would look really cool on some polymer clay. We've also got fonts, so if you want to write some stuff, which is something I don't think is going to work with polymer clay because you're going to be making earrings and such, but you could, I don't know, make a polymer clay plaque and have writing on it, plaque, whatever it is that you want to do. This will give you an idea of fonts that would work as a stencil, because as you can see, there's parts that are connected or that allow, like here, if you have a look at the BFC home team, you can see that the O has a line which allows the middle part to stay when you take the rest of the O out. So we're going to move on to creating our own stencil, and we're going to keep this pretty simple. I think this is going to be probably one of my quickest videos. I actually did want to show you something else. So if we go home, okay, back on our home page, something that we can utilize, think outside the box. Something that we can utilize is cutaway cards. So for instance, if you find, this is brought up t-shirts. So if you, like, let's click on the weddings. If you have a cutaway card that you really like and you think it would be great as a stencil, you can actually use that. So here we've got some cutaway cards. Now the beauty of cutaway cards is that there is a lot on them that you can utilize. Let's click on this one, for instance. We can actually use her dress as a stencil. We can also use the top section with the stars as a stencil because everything's already connected. Obviously that's needed with a cutaway card because you're going to be taking elements out. So essentially a cutaway card is a stencil. That's basically what it is. Let's have a look. You could even use something like this one with the mandala. So let me show you how you would utilize this as a stencil. We're going to edit this project and I'm going to show you how to use it. Okay, so we have our card open and we're just going to get rid of a lot of the stuff that we don't need. So we do need that, we don't need that, we don't need all of this. So this is the only part that we're going to focus on. We're going to get our shape. So when you're dealing with polymer clay, you're generally going to use a square or a rectangle stencil, and it's not going to be very big. Reason being, you are not going to want to roll out meters and meters of polymer clay unless you have a special machine, which obviously I don't. So we're going to select our shape and our card, and we're going to slice that. So we now have a base stencil. So what we could even do is we could flip this horizontally and we could line it up nicely. Oopsie, undo. So for this, we just want to align it center vertically. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to weld these together. And then you're not going to want these little edges on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a square again. And this time we're going to send this to the back. This time we're just creating a little border for, so let's unlock that. And then we're going to duplicate that and size it down. Okay, then we're going to take both of our squares, we're going to select them, and we're going to slice those. That's giving us a little border. Let's delete all the middles out. And then let's just slightly resize this so that it actually touches all the way around. We can actually align that. And then we're going to weld that. Let's undo because we're slightly off. Now we weld. And there we have a stencil. So let's create a stencil from scratch, not using something that's predetermined. So we'll use maybe some roses or leaves, and then we will create like a double stencil. So obviously you can go as intricate as you want. If you want to do a 10 layered stencil, you can do that. We're just going to focus on single layer and double layer for now. Maybe later on we will focus on something a bit more in-depth. As a lot of you know, a lot of my videos are focused on beginners, and that's why I try and touch on a lot of different things. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to ask me in the comments. I'll always try and help wherever I can. To create our stencil from scratch, we're going to need our base, which is our basic square. You can do any shape. Honestly, I've just decided on a square, but you can do any shape. And we're just going to make it big enough to work on. You can obviously change that later on. So I think I want to do some leaves. I really like leaves, so I'm going to search under images and I'm going to have a look for some leaves that would be appropriate. Now again, the main thing to remember is that whatever you choose to use, it has to have parts in between that are connected. So you're not going to be able to use, if you watched my video on the raccoon card, that did not work out because there were pieces that were not connected. So if you have a look at this one, if I did that, I would just have the big outline. I wouldn't have that pretty pattern in the middle, because that pretty pattern in the middle is completely separate to the outside. So what I would have to do to make this work is I would have to connect this to the outside somehow. So I could do that by adding in a stem, or I could connect it on the sides or the top, but I would have to connect that some way. You see something like this as well, you wouldn't have the lines through the middle because everything in the center would basically cut out. I really like that. So we're going to try and work with these and see how far we get. So remembering when you're making something with polymer clay, the end result is going to be quite small. Let's change all of these to white so it's easier for us to work with. So your end result is going to be quite small. You wouldn't want something that is going to be too large and you're not going to be able to see the effect of it. So I really don't like this. Let's go for roses. Roses are easy. It's what I was going to work with in the beginning. So I kind of have a plan for that. So what we would want is something like this. Or something like this could work. These are all pretty much set up to be sort of stencils, if you will. So let's add those two. And then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this multiple times because we want it to fill up our stencil. So we're just going to move that, just make it easier. Okay, let's get to work on placing these. Okay, we're going to duplicate, then we'll get rid of these. Let's duplicate this. And we'll duplicate it one more time. Oopsie. Okay, well now we're going to place this, make sure everything fits. Okay, so it doesn't. So what I'm going to do, instead of shifting everything around and trying to figure things out, I'm actually just going to make that a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller can work. And then we're going to select all of that. We're going to have to slice them one by one. So what we can do is we can actually select all of our roses. So remembering slice only works with 2 layers. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to actually have to combine and weld all of these roses together. And that's going to turn it into 1 layer, which is fine because we're just going to use it now to slice out of our stencil backing. So we can even readjust our stencil slightly. So I've unlocked it. And now we're going to select that. Now that's only 2 layers and we're going to slice it. Right, so now we can get rid of our middle slice results. And what we're left with is a perfect little stencil. So the next thing we're going, oh wow, we've got 2. I don't know what happened there, but we have 2. Okay, so we can get rid of one of them because we only need 1. So we've already got 2 beautiful stencils here. And then what we're going to do now is create a layered stencil. So basically what we would do is place the stencil, put our color down, remove that stencil, and then place another one which is going to be in a different place, and then obviously color that way. So for our double layered stencil, we're going to use the same concept as our single layered one, except obviously we're going to need 2 of our stencil, what do you call these things now? We are going to need 2 of our stencil templates. So I've got 2 of my squares and I'm going to align those center horizontally, center vertically. This is the easiest way to ensure that you have the right sizing, or the right positioning. That's the better way to say it, because sizing, I mean, it kind of does matter, but that's not why we do it. It's more for positioning. So we have to obviously make sure that this is positioned correctly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to insert a diamond, and this is going to act as our center point. So obviously when we're cutting it, and this is super important for more intricate designs, we want to make sure that we place it correctly. So we're going to select all 3 of those and we're going to say align center horizontally. So the point is now our center point. So we're going to select one of our squares and our diamond and we're going to say slice. And we're then going to select one of our slice results and our other square and we're going to slice that. So again, remember you can only slice 2 layers at a time. We're then going to delete all these little slice results here. And as you can see, we have a nice little piece out of our template. We're then going to look for our image, which is leopard print. And we're going to work with a double layered one. So this one works. Let's put it in. And we're going to resize that. Wow. Oopsie, undo. We don't want to move anything around just yet. So we're going to place this and we're going to resize that. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to select our templates. We're going to unlock it and we're going to move it inwards. Now we've got a pretty good template size. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select one layer of our leopard print and one of our template backings and we're going to slice that. We're then going to select our second backing and our leopard print and we're going to slice that. Right, now we can move our stencils away, and as you can see we have a pretty leopard print stencil going on here. And that is going to work perfectly with each other. So that is how you would do a double layered stencil, nice and simple. Did I select the right ones? I think I did. Let's bring this to the front. That looks pretty good. So in our next video, we're actually going to use these stencils to create some pretty polymer clay items. And I can't wait to do that. I'm super excited. I love that we can use our Cricut to sort of branch out into other crafts. And stuff like this is perfect for your Cricut Joy because you don't need a huge stencil. So even if you only have the Joy, you can do great things with it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that you learned something.